Good morning. How are you all today? Thank you for visiting with us and welcome to Bible class with Andre and Betty. We're continuing our studies today in the book of Genesis, and today we're in chapter 38. And we'll be looking at the second set of twins recorded in the Bible. And it's chapter 38 is a parenthetical chapter to give an explanation of the history and genealogy of Christ. And so we begin at verse 1. And it came to pass at that time that Judah went down from his brethren and turned in to a certain Adullamite whose name was Hira. Now some time passed, but after that time passed, Judah, the fourth son of Jacob and Leah, whose name means praise or celebration, he went down from his brethren after they had sold him, Joseph, into Egypt. And this Gentile, whose name was Hira, he came to that man. Verse 2. And Judah saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite, whose name was Shua. And he took her and went in to her. That is, Judah went in to this unnamed woman who was of Canaan. And she conceived and bare a son. And he called his name Verse 2, this is a Jew cohabiting with a Gentile. Verse 4, and she conceived again and bare a son, and she called his name Onan. Verse 5, and she yet again conceived and bare a son, and called his name Shelah, and he was at Shezab when she bare him. In other words, he was not at home when she bare this son. Now the explanation, verse 7. And Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew him. The Lord killed him. And this is based on God's foreknowledge of who's wicked and who's righteous, verse 8. Because this son hadn't done anything that's recorded, but he was still wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord slew him, verse 8. And Judah said unto Onan, the second son born to Judah, go in unto thy brother's wife, and marry her, and raise up seed to thy brother. And Onan knew that he felt that the seed should not be his. And it came to pass, when he went in unto his brother's wife, that he spilled it on the ground, lest that he should give seed to his brother. In other words, he spilled the semen on the floor. And the thing which he did displeased the Lord. Wherefore the Lord slew him also. Because in that semen that comes from a man during intercourse, might have life in that seed and connect with the egg of the woman in her womb, and a child is conceived and born. But this brother spilled it on the ground so that because he didn't think that he should be the one to bring the seed of his brother into the world. And so that displeased the Lord, and then the Lord slew him too, or killed him also. Verse 11. Then said Judah to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, remain a widow at thy father's house till Shelah my son be grown. For he said, lest perhaps or peradventure he die also as his brethren did. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house. So she was a widow now, and Judah told her to go back to her father's house. Now, Tamar is one of three women in the Bible named Tamar, but it would be through the conception through Tamar that the genealogy of Jesus is recorded in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 1, and in the Gospel of Luke in chapter 2, Luke the 3rd chapter. And so it's looking forward to the marriage between Joseph and Mary, the virgin who conceived and bore Jesus. Verse 12. And in process of time, the daughter of Shua, Judah's wife, died. That's the one mentioned in verse 2 of this chapter. And Judah was comforted and went up unto the sheep shearers in Timnath, he and his friend Hirah the Adullamite. And it was told Tamar, saying, behold, thy father-in-law goeth up to Timnath to shear his sheep. And Tamar, verse 14, and she put her widow's garments off from her, and covered her with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in an open place, which is by the way to Timnath. For she saw that Shelah was grown, and she was not given to him to wife. So she's conceiving a way to get Judah to regret that he had not kept his word to her. So, verse 15, when Judah saw her, this is his daughter-in-law, but he thought her to be a harlot because she had covered her face. And that's the way harlots did in that time. Verse 16. And he turned to her by the way as he was traveling and said, go to, or come now, I pray thee, let me come in unto thee. Parenthesis, for he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, what wilt thou give me that thou mayest come in unto me? And he said, I will send thee a kid from the flock. And she said, wilt thou not give me a pledge till thou send it? And this is what's going to clear up things in the next few verses. Verse 18. And he said, what pledge shall I give thee? And she said, thy signet, or thy ring, and thy bracelets, and thy staff that is in thine hand. And he gave it her, and came in unto her, and she conceived by him. So she's conceiving a child, it will be twins, by her father-in-law. Verse 19, and she arose and went away, and laid by her the veil from her, took the veil off, and put on the garments of her widowhood. Verse 20, and Judah sent the kid by the hand of his friend, the Adullamite, to receive his pledge from the woman's hand, but he found her not. Verse 21, then he asked the men of that place, saying, where is the harlot that was openly by the wayside? And they said, there was no harlot in that place. Verse 22, and he returned to Judah and said, I cannot find her. And also the men of the place said that there was no harlot in this place. Verse 23, and Judah said, let her take it to herself, lest we be shamed. Behold, I sent the kid, and thou hast not found her. So he felt justified by what he had done. Verse 24, and it came to pass about 3 months later or after, that it was told Judah, saying, Tamar, thy daughter-in-law, had played the harlot, and also, behold, she is with child by whoredom, or harlotry. And Judah said, bring her forth, and let her be burnt. So he was going to have her killed for being pregnant, thinking she had betrayed her vows as a widow. And so when she was brought forth, she sent to her father-in-law, saying, by the man whose these are, am I with child? And she said, discern, and I pray thee, whose are these, the signet and the bracelets and the staff? And Judah acknowledged, verse 26, and Judah acknowledged them and said, she had been more righteous than I, because that I gave her not to Shelah, my son, and he knew her again no more. So he never had sex with her again. Verse 27. And it came to pass in the time of her travail that, behold, twins were in her womb. Verse 28. And it came to pass when she travailed or went into labor, that the one put out his hand, and the midwife took and bound upon him his hand a scarlet thread, saying, this came out first. And that speaks of Jesus paying the sin debt and rising again. This speaks of Jesus's resurrection, because the name Zara means of sunlight or princess. Verse 29. And it came to pass, as he drew back his hand, that behold, his brother came out. And she said, the midwife said, how hast thou broken forth? This breach be upon thee. Upon Jesus was spring out of the tribe of Judah, as recorded in Hebrews, the 7th chapter, the 14th verse. And you can trace this genealogy again through the genealogy of Jesus in the book of Matthew, 1st chapter, and Luke, the 3rd chapter. Matthew, the 1st chapter, and Luke, the 3rd chapter. And so the midwife says, how hast thou broken forth? This breach be upon thee, speaking of the scarlet thread. And therefore his name was called Phares, and a breach upon him. You can see the genealogy that it speaks of Jesus' perfect sacrifice. And Zara, again, is sunrise, speaking of the resurrection. Verse 30. And afterward came out his brother, that had the scarlet thread upon his hand, and his name was called Zara. And throughout the rest of the Bible, you can see this line tracing up to Jesus coming into the world to pay the sin debt that we deserve. So you all, thank you for listening. I know I share a lot of things that a lot of people have not thought of, and if they have, it's very few compared to the many. And again, I'm just going to put this out. I've said it before, but this explanation and commentary on the Bible is from 55 leading to 56 years of daily Bible study. And this is my 130th time going through the Bible from cover to cover. And I just share on what the Lord has taught me through these many years. So thank you all for listening. And again, hopefully these lessons will lead you all to a deeper studying of the Word of God. So you all have a great day and a great week. Bye.